The pursuit of responsibility is a lifelong journey, not a destination. It's a continuous process of growth, learning, and self-improvement that requires us to be adaptable, resilient, and open to change. As we navigate the complexities of our own biases, assumptions, and vulnerabilities, we must also recognize the inherent value of empathy, compassion, and understanding in creating a more just and equitable world. Empathy is not just a feeling, but a skill that can be developed and honed over time. It requires us to listen actively, ask questions, and seek to understand the perspectives and experiences of others. This is particularly important in our interactions with marginalized communities who have been historically silenced, marginalized, and excluded from decision-making processes. When we listen to the stories and concerns of others, we begin to see the world through their eyes, and our own assumptions and biases are challenged. We start to understand the ways in which our privilege and power have been built on the backs of others, and how our actions can perpetuate systems of oppression. This is a crucial step in breaking down the silos that separate us and in creating a more inclusive and compassionate society. But empathy is just the first step. Accountability is another essential component of true responsibility. It's not just about admitting mistakes or taking ownership of our actions, but about using our privilege and power to make amends, create meaningful change, and rectify harm whenever it occurs. This requires a commitment to transparency, a willingness to listen to feedback and criticism, and a dedication to rectifying harm whenever it occurs. Accountability also requires us to confront our own complicity in systems of oppression. We must acknowledge how our privilege and power have been used to reinforce inequality and injustice, and work to dismantle the systems that perpetuate these harms. This can be a daunting and uncomfortable process, but it's essential for growth and transformation. The journey to true responsibility is not a solo endeavor, but a collective one. It requires us to work together towards a shared goal of creating a world where everyone can thrive. This means listening to, amplifying, and supporting the voices and stories of marginalized communities, and using our privilege to advocate for those. This journey is not without its challenges. It requires us to confront our own privilege and power, and to release our arrogance and entitlement. It demands that we work together, rather than placing ourselves at the center of the narrative. And it requires us to be brave, open, and willing to challenge our own assumptions and biases. As we strive to create a more just and equitable world, we must approach this challenge with a willingness to learn and grow every step of the way. This is not a linear process, but a circular one. We learn, we grow, we make mistakes, and we learn again. And through this process, we must continually ask ourselves, what are we doing to perpetuate systems of oppression? What are we doing to dismantle them? Ultimately, the pursuit of responsibility is not just about individual actions, but about creating a world that values empathy, accountability, and the well-being of all people. It's a journey that demands our attention, our energy, and our commitment, and one that can lead to a brighter, more just, and more equitable future for all. But what does this future look like? What does it mean to live in a world where everyone can thrive? It means a world where marginalized communities are not only heard, but also empowered to determine their own futures. It means a world where our privilege and power are used to uplift and support those who are most impacted by inequality and injustice. And it means a world where empathy, compassion, and understanding are not just values, but the very fabric of our society. This is a world that requires us to imagine something new, something different, and something more just. A world that requires us to step outside our comfort zones and to challenge the status quo. A world that requires us to be brave, open, and willing to learn and to do so with humility, empathy, and compassion. Ultimately, the pursuit of responsibility is not a destination, but a journey that requires us to be adaptable, resilient, and open to change, a journey that requires us to listen, learn, and grow every step of the way, a journey that demands our attention, our energy, and our commitment, and one that can lead to a brighter, more just, and more equitable future for all